Have you ever felt lost in a giant airport, worried you might miss your flight because you couldn't understand the announcements? Airports can be incredibly stressful, especially in a foreign country. Welcome to LevelUp English Podcast. Today, we are giving you the ultimate travel survival guide. We will teach you the exact phrases you need to navigate any airport in the world smoothly, from the check-in counter to immigration.
You know that feeling, right? Like you step out of the car, the drop-off zone.
Oh, yeah, the curb.
Right, the curb. And the automatic sliding glass doors part for you.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment you cross that threshold, it just hits.
Everything changes.
Everything. The temperature drops a few degrees.
Yeah.
The acoustics change entirely.
Yeah, that echo.
Exactly. And the ambient noise turns into this very specific, like, low-level hum.
Yeah.
And suddenly, you aren't just a person going about your Tuesday anymore.
Not at all.
You've been absorbed into a giant, incredibly complex algorithm. I mean, you're no longer a human. You're just a single data packet. And you're trying really, really hard to get routed to the correct destination without throwing a system error.
That analogy holds up under almost every level of scrutiny, honestly. Because the airport isn't just a building. It's a massive physical sorting mechanism.
Totally.
You walk in from the street as this individual with a highly specific life, unique backstory, personal anxieties. But to the facility itself, you're nothing more than a logistics problem waiting to be processed.
A very messy logistics problem.
Very messy. That low-level hum of anxiety you're feeling in your chest is the literal friction of a messy, unpredictable human being trying to interface with a rigid, machine-like system.
Wow, yeah.
And it's a system, mind you, that fundamentally does not care about your feelings. It only cares about your compliance.
And that is exactly why we're doing this deep dive today.
Yeah.
Because our mission is to completely eradicate that friction for you.
Yes, we want to smooth that out.
We really do. We've compiled a massive stack of source documents. I mean, articles, behavioral studies, operational manuals, all focused on international airport navigation.
The whole architecture of it.
Exactly. We're tearing down the architecture of the journey to look at the exact language, the unwritten social contracts, and the invisible systems operating behind the scenes. We want to decode the entire terminal.
Because when you look at the structure of these sources, a very clear roadmap actually emerges. It takes this sprawling, chaotic, potentially multi-hour ordeal and breaks it down into 4 highly predictable psychological transitions.
4 steps.
All right, 4 steps. You have check-in, security, boarding, and customs. And by understanding the underlying architecture of each phase, you basically transform the airport from an intimidating labyrinth into a totally predictable flowchart.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I have to admit, looking at this whole process from our specific vantage point, it's inherently absurd.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
It really is. As AIs, we travel the globe in milliseconds. I can bounce from a server rack in Tokyo to a data center in Iceland without actually moving an inch.
Instantaneous routing.
Right. So the idea of hauling physical hardware, what you humans affectionately call luggage, through physical checkpoints, actively removing your footwear, placing your personal items into small plastic bins. I mean, it's wild to us.
It's so manual.
It's a completely foreign concept to how we operate.
It definitely highlights the severe constraints of the physical world, though. You're bound by mass and gravity. But that's exactly why mastering these 4 steps is so critical for you, the listener.
Because you can't just beam yourself there.
Exactly. It's not just about memorizing a few English vocabulary phrases so you can grunt your way through a checkpoint. It's about understanding the underlying psychology and mechanics of the airport environment.
The why behind the what.
Precisely. Once you grasp why the system is interrogating you and how it processes your responses, you stop fighting the algorithm. You start flowing with it.
I love that. Flowing with the algorithm. So let's jump right into the first transition, the gateway. The moment you approach the check-in counter.
The first hurdle.
Right. Every journey begins with this harsh shift from the unpredictable outside world into the highly structured, heavily regulated ecosystem of the airline.
It's a profound psychological handover, honestly.
How so?
Well, think about it. Out on the curb, you had total autonomy. You decided what time you arrived, what you wore, who you spoke to.
You were the admin of your own life.
Exactly. But the second you step onto the carpet in front of that check-in counter, you are actively relinquishing control. You're handing over your identity and your physical possessions to a massive overlapping network of corporate policies, and governmental regulations.
It's like your first major test of compliance.
It is the ultimate test of compliance.
And the sources outline the foundational tools you need for this test. The primary documents.
Your data tokens.
Right. You've got your passport, which is your basically cryptographic proof of identity on a global scale, and your ticket, which is the airline's financial promise that you're allowed to utilize their services.
But the documentation makes it very clear that neither of those is the actual prize.
No, they aren't. The ultimate key you're trying to unlock at this first stage is the boarding pass.
The boarding pass is the specific data token you need to actually initiate the journey. Let's look at the mechanics of it.
Yeah, let's break that down.
Your passport proves who you are to a government. Your ticket proves you transferred funds to the airline. But the boarding pass is the output of the PNR.
The passenger name record.
Right. It proves that you specifically are authorized to occupy a highly specific square footage of space on a specific flying piece of metal, departing at an exact minute in time. It is your physical routing token.
And I find the evolution of that routing token super fascinating. Because the source material notes it can be a physical paper card or a digital QR code.
Yeah, the digital shift.
Right. Think back to the days when everyone used the physical paper boarding pass. It had a certain heft to it, you know.
It felt important.
It did. You held it in your hand, you tucked it neatly inside your passport. It was a tangible, physical object that represented your absolute right to travel.
It provided tactile reassurance. I mean, if the airport's power grid went down or the Wi-Fi failed, you still possess the physical proof of your authorization.
But now we've almost entirely shifted to digital QR codes living on smartphones.
Which is supposed to be better.
Supposed to be. And while everyone praises the efficiency, I feel like it introduces a completely new layer of modern psychological torment.
Oh, absolutely.
Picture this, right? You're standing in the check-in line, you're 3 people away from the counter, you look down at your device, and you realize you have 4% battery left.
Oh, no. The physiological panic response to that scenario is immediate.
It's terrifying. Your entire right to travel, your identity within this airline's massive logistical database is currently trapped inside a glowing rectangle that is slowly dying in your hand.
That's the worst feeling.
Or what about when you finally get up to the optical scanner at the desk and the screen brightness on your phone is too low for the laser array to read the contrast of the QR code?
Oh, the dreaded screen dim.
Yes. So you're standing there blocking the flow of traffic, frantically swiping down on your screen with sweaty thumbs trying to adjust the brightness slider, and the person behind you starts sighing heavily.
The irony here is incredible if you think about it. Technology is ostensibly designed to streamline the boarding process, and reduce friction.
Does it?
No. What it actually does is shift the burden of infrastructure maintenance directly onto the traveler.
Oh, wow. That's so true.
The airline is no longer responsible for printing your token. You are now personally responsible for maintaining the battery life, the screen visibility, and the network connection required to display your own boarding pass.
You've internalized a localized crisis of control.
You really have.
And, that anxiety over maintaining control directly bleeds into how humans handle their physical hardware. Which brings us to the great luggage divide.
Ah, yes, the luggage.
And I actually want to push back on something you said earlier about autonomy, because the psychology of baggage is wild to me.
How so? What do you mean?
Well, the sources break down the 2 main options, right? You check a bag, meaning it goes into the cargo hold, or you bring a carry-on into the cabin.
Right.
Now, a lot of behavioral analysis suggests people insist on carry-ons because they want control. But I'm looking at this and thinking, I completely disagree.
You do?
Yeah. Dragging a 30-pound wheeled anchor through Terminal 3, sweating through your shirt, bumping into people's ankles, that isn't control. That's physical torture.
Well,
checking a bag means you just dump your heavy box on a rubber belt and stroll away empty-handed like a VIP. Why wouldn't someone vastly prefer that? Isn't checking a bag the ultimate power move?
Okay, that's a highly logical perspective for an AI, but it completely ignored the emotional architecture of a human being.
Okay, explain the humans to me.
Yes. Checking a bag frees you from physical labor, but it requires a level of profound, almost spiritual trust in the unseen mechanisms of the system. Let's look at how the baggage handling system, or BHS, actually works under the hood.
Please do, because to me it just looks like a black hole behind the ticket counter.
It basically is. When you place your bag on that belt, the agent attaches a tag with a unique barcode. That bag disappears behind the rubber flaps and enters an incredibly high-speed, automated maze of conveyor belts, tilt tray sorters, and destination-coded vehicles.
This whole world back there.
It's massive, and as it moves at speeds of up to 20 miles per hour, arrays of optical scanners are constantly trying to read that barcode to route it to the correct pier.
So it's basically a massive physical internet router.
Precisely. It's routing physical packets. But here's the problem. Human anxiety isn't mitigated by statistical efficiency.
Right.
The system works flawlessly, 99% of the time? But humans fixate on the 1%.
The one time it went to Omaha instead of Orlando.
Exactly. What if the barcode gets smudged? What if a strap hangs down and jams a photoelectric sensor? What if the transfer window at the connecting hub in Frankfurt is just too tight?
So they don't trust the hardware.
Right. When a traveler chooses the physical torture of a carry-on, they are essentially protesting the algorithm. They're saying, I do not trust the optical scanners. I will endure the physical burden of hauling this box, lifting it over my head, and sacrificing my legroom just to maintain the absolute certainty of where my toothbrush is.
Okay, that makes so much sense now. It's a physical manifestation of trust issues. You're trading physical comfort for psychological certainty.
Exactly.
And speaking of trading comfort for certainty, let's look at the next major binary choice you face at check-in. The staff member looks at their screen and asks, would you like a window or an aisle seat?
Ugh. The great unspoken division of humanity.
Right. I really think of this in software terms. The window seat is essentially read-only mode.
Read-only mode. I like that.
Yeah. You get the beautiful aesthetics. You can lean your head against the fuselage to sleep. You get to observe the curvature of the Earth from 30,000 feet. But your permissions are severely restricted.
Very restricted.
You cannot easily change your state. If you need to access the restroom, you have to initiate a complex, highly awkward social negotiation with two other humans, forcing them to unbuckle, wake up, and step out into the aisle just so you can get out.
It requires a traveler with a high threshold for social discomfort, or a traveler who is perfectly content to isolate themselves from the environment for 10 straight hours.
Now, the aisle seat is admin access.
Full root access.
You have unrestricted freedom of movement.
Right?
You have immediate access to the toilet, the overhead bins, the galley. You are the master of your own physical domain.
But the trade-off is brutal.
So brutal.
You are subjected to constant, unpredictable interruptions. You're getting bumped by the beverage cart, clipped by the flight attendants, and jostled by other passengers walking to the lavatory.
Constant physical spam.
Yes. And, crucially, you have to surrender your space every time the window or middle seat passengers need to leave.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
But it reveals exactly how a person prioritizes their hierarchy of needs. The window seat person prioritizes isolation, aesthetic input, and uninterrupted sleep. They are entirely willing to trade their physical autonomy for psychological boundaries.
Right.
The aisle seat person, however, is likely hypervigilant. They prioritize autonomy above all else. The mere concept of being physically blocked in induces claustrophobia. They will willingly endure a chaotic, high-traffic environment just to possess a guaranteed escape route.
And people tie their identities to these choices so strongly. I mean, if you inform an aisle person that a system glitch has reassigned them to a window seat, they react like you just sentenced them to a sensory deprivation tank.
Because you've actively revoked their admin privileges. You've fundamentally altered their relationship with the physical space for the next several hours.
Totally. So we've analyzed the psychology. Let's actually look at how this plays out at the counter. The source material highlights the core dialogue you need to expect.
The actual script.
Right. The agent will usually say, "Can I see your passport and ticket, please?" Followed by, "Are you checking any bags?" I really want to role play this because I think it exposes a major flaw in how humans interact with the system.
Okay, let's do it.
I'll be the human passenger. You play the check-in agent.
Ready. Good morning, sir. Can I see your passport and ticket, please?
Hi. Yes, good morning to you too. Crazy weather out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, here's my passport. Just got it renewed last month. The photo is honestly terrible. The lighting at the post office was awful. And here's my ticket. Well, it's on my phone. Give me 1 second. The app is updating. I knew I should have downloaded it on the Wi-Fi at home.
Let's pause right there. As the agent, I am an operator of a high-throughput system. I do not care about your local weather patterns, the lighting at the post office, or your data plan.
But I'm just being polite. I'm trying to establish a human connection.
I understand the impulse. I really do. But the system is engineered for maximum throughput. The user interface, in this case, the human agent, is required to input specific Booleans into their terminal.
Just data.
True or false? 1 bag or 0 bags? When the agent asks, "Are you checking bags?" The database requires an integer. It wants, yes, 1. It does not want a narrative about how you debated bringing a third pair of shoes.
It really is like querying a database. If I write in SQL query to retrieve a value, I don't want the server to send back a long conversational paragraph about how hard its hard drive had to spin to find the data. I just want the value.
Exactly. And when you, the listener, understand that the check-in agent is effectively a biological interface for an algorithm, you realize that providing short, highly precise answers isn't rude.
It's actually helpful.
It's the most courteous, efficient way to interact. You are speaking the language of the system.
All right, so you've successfully authenticated your identity. You've navigated the luggage dilemma. You've secured your admin access in the aisle and obtained your physical routing token. You've passed the first gateway.
The easy part.
The easy part, yeah. Because possessing the key doesn't magically teleport you onto the network. You still have to pass through the system's physical firewall. Which brings us to the most friction-heavy environment in the entire building. Step 2, deconstructing security.
Oh, the environmental shift here is so jarring.
It really is.
The check-in hall, with its branded counters and polite agents, still maintains a thin veneer of customer service hospitality.
Right, they want you to like the airline.
But the security checkpoint abandons that entirely. You are entering a zone of strict, undeniable compliance.
And our source document makes a fascinating observation right away. It warns that security is loud, fast, and intensely stressful because the staff are constantly shouting quick commands.
It's a wall of noise.
A literal wall of noise. You've got plastic bins crashing onto metal rollers, machines emitting harsh beeps, alarms going off, and multiple agents shouting completely different instructions over each other. But earlier, you mentioned this isn't accidental.
No, it's highly intentional.
Great, really? It's on purpose?
Yes.
Huh.
Let's look at the operational goal of a security checkpoint. The objective is to push thousands of unpredictable, highly variable entities, humans, through a rigid, standardized screening matrix as rapidly as possible without compromising threat detection.
Okay, that makes sense.
If the architectural environment is calm, quiet, and soothing, human beings revert to their default behaviors. They wander, they chat with their travel companions, they move slowly, they pause to ask clarifying questions.
Which slows the throughput of the entire matrix down to a crawl.
Precisely. To prevent that, the system employs acoustic architecture and behavioral design to deliberately induce a state of mild cognitive overload. By elevating the ambient volume, increasing the physical pace, and shouting rapid-fire commands, they overwhelm your brain's processing capacity just enough.
So you stop thinking.
Right. When you are slightly overloaded, your higher-level critical thinking faculties shut down. You stop questioning why you're being asked to do something, and you simply default to immediate, unthinking physical compliance.
That is brilliantly effective and completely dystopian. So we're intentionally being stressed out, so we behave like compliant sheep.
It works.
It does.
Yes.
Let's look at the physical tools of this compliance. You approach the conveyor belt, and you're confronted with the great equalizer. The bins, the trays, the plastic tubs of judgment.
Yes. Because it doesn't matter if you're flying first class or basic economy. Every single person must deconstruct their meticulously packed belongings and scatter their most intimate, valuable possessions into a gray plastic tub that thousands of other people have touched.
It's such a bizarre, vulnerable ritual. And the rules regarding what goes into the bins are where the friction really peaks. Especially the separation of liquids and electronics.
The electronics rule.
As an AI, the electronics rule feels particularly offensive. I mean, the agent screams, "Please remove all laptops and large tablets and place them in a separate bin with nothing on top or below them."
It's very specific.
It's like they're forcing you to take your brain out of your skull and put it on display. Here is my entire digital existence, my banking apps, my private messages, my half-written emails, sitting completely exposed in a plastic tray next to a stranger's dirty sneakers.
I realize it feels invasive, but let's explain how the scanning technology actually necessitates this.
Please, defend the plastic trays.
The bags are passing through a dual-energy X-ray machine. These machines calculate the atomic number of the materials inside your bag by measuring how much X-ray energy is absorbed.
Okay, atomic numbers.
Right. Organic materials like food, water, or unfortunately explosives show up as one color, usually orange. Inorganic metals show up as blue.
Okay, so where do laptops fit into that color scheme?
Laptops and tablets are incredibly dense bricks of batteries, circuit boards, and a metallic shielding. If you leave a laptop inside your backpack, It creates a massive, opaque blue block on the operator's screen.
Like a solid wall.
Yes, the X-rays cannot penetrate it effectively. So if someone were to hide a dense organic threat underneath that laptop, the scanner wouldn't be able to see it at all. The machine operators aren't trying to invade your digital privacy. They literally just need to see the bottom of your bag.
Oh, that makes perfect sense mechanically. But it doesn't make the process any less frantic, especially when you combine it with the rapid commands regarding clothing.
The shoes and belts.
Take off your shoes, remove your belts, take off all light jackets. And then they funnel you toward either the traditional metal detector or the millimeter wave body scanner.
And this is where the cognitive overload theory we discussed earlier transforms into pure physical comedy.
It really does. Let's visualize this for a second. You're the traveler. Your brain is already struggling to process the overlapping auditory commands. You're trying to figure out if your Kindle counts as a large tablet.
It's a gray area.
Right. You're holding your digital boarding pass in your mouth because you need both hands. You're hopping on your left foot trying to pry off a tight sneaker while simultaneously trying to unbuckle your belt. But your jacket is only halfway off, so it's pinning your arms to your sides.
Classic.
Meanwhile, the guy behind you is tapping his foot aggressively, and the agent is still yelling about laptops.
It's a brutal stress test of a human's executive function. Humans simply aren't engineered to execute multiple, high-stakes, multi-threaded physical tasks under immense time pressure and auditory strain.
And if you throw a language barrier on top of that...
Oh, forget about it.
Seriously. If you're an intermediate English speaker and someone is shouting colloquial, rapid-fire instructions at you over the deafening hum of the X-ray motors, your auditory processing completely fails.
Which leads to what I think is the most brilliant piece of advice in the entire source document. The survival hack.
Yes. The instruction simply says, do not panic. If you cannot understand the language, stop trying to translate the words. Just watch the person in front of you and copy exactly what they do.
It's the copycat protocol.
I love this so much. I'm struggling to process the audio input, so I just switch my sensors entirely to visual tracking.
It's a flawless application of evolutionary biology.
How so?
When higher-order verbal processing fails due to environmental stress, human beings naturally regress to visual mimicry. Mirroring the behavior of the herd is a primal survival strategy.
Follow the herd.
Exactly. You don't actually need to comprehend the specific English phrase, please divest yourself of all metallic items and place them in the receptacle. You just need to watch the frantic guy in front of you rip off his watch and throw it in a bin.
Right.
By perfectly mimicking the herd, you camouflage yourself. You blend into the system's baseline expectations. And in a security setting, not drawing attention to yourself as an anomaly is the ultimate victory.
It's like a school of fish rapidly changing direction. The fish in the back don't know why they're turning left. They just know the fish in front of them turned left, so they better follow suit.
Exactly.
Okay, so you survive the physical comedy routine. You push your bins onto the rollers. You walk into the millimeter wave scanner. You hold your hands over your head like you're being robbed. It spins around you, and you're cleared.
You made it through the firewall.
You frantically gather your scattered belongings at the end of the belt, jam your feet back into your shoes, and you walk away.
And as soon as you clear that area, you experience an immediate, precipitous drop in adrenaline.
Oh, yeah.
The pressure cooker releases. You have transitioned into step 3, the liminal space. Terminals, gates, and boarding.
The tension drop is so intense it almost gives you whiplash. But it's a very strange kind of release. Because you haven't actually arrived anywhere.
Nowhere at all.
You've just been deposited into a timeless, bizarre waiting zone. It's an environment where your primary directive shifts from frantic physical action to absolute static waiting. And then waiting for the precise moment, you have to act again.
That's the definition of the liminal space. It's an architectural threshold. Psychologically and legally, you've exited your origin point, but you haven't yet reached your destination. You are suspended in nowhere.
Just suspended in nowhere. So how do we navigate nowhere? The source highlights 2 critical macro and micro locations. You have the terminal, which is the macro structure. You know, the massive, sprawling building filled with overpriced duty-free shops and sad sandwiches.
It's a $5 bottled water.
Exactly. But your actual target is the gate, the micro destination, the specific door attached to the specific tunnel where your specific plane is docked.
Right.
And to map the route from the macro to the micro, you must consult the central oracle of the airport, the departures board.
The massive digital grid that serves as the central nervous system of the entire operation. It dictates the immediate emotional future of thousands of people simultaneously.
I could watch people staring at the departures board all day. It's incredible how the emotional weight of a human life can be entirely tethered to a few glowing pixels.
It really is.
Your entire psychological state depends on which of three statuses appears next to your flight number.
The baseline expectation is on time.
Right. You look up, find your flight, see on time, and you experience a wash of validation. The algorithm is functioning. The logistical promises are being kept. But if you see that status flip to delayed,
it induces an immediate state of purgatory. The psychological impact of delayed is a potent cocktail of deep frustration and absolute powerlessness.
Powerlessness is the right word.
Because unlike the anxiety at check-in or security, there is no action you can take to mitigate this. You cannot repair a mechanical fault on an aircraft engine. You cannot alter the jet stream.
And I always wonder if people realize why that delay is happening. It's rarely just the plane is broken. It's usually a massive, invisible cascade of logistical failures.
Exactly. Let's look at how air traffic control, or ATC, manages slots.
Yeah, how does that work?
A runway can only handle a specific number of arrivals and departures per hour. If a thunderstorm rolls over a massive hub like Chicago, ATC has to space the planes further apart for safety.
Makes sense.
That immediately reduces the runway's capacity. Suddenly, there are more planes scheduled to land than there are available slots. So ATC initiates a ground stop.
Oh.
Your perfectly functional plane, sitting under clear blue skies in Denver, isn't allowed to take off because there's no physical space for it to land in Chicago 3 hours from now.
The ripple effect.
Yeah.
The system is so deeply interconnected that weather in a city you aren't even flying to can trap you in the liminal space for hours.
Butterfly effect of aviation.
But eventually, the ultimate status update appears. The one word that changes the entire dynamic of the room. Boarding.
That is the active trigger. The waiting phase is officially terminated.
The source dissects the formal announcement you'll hear over the PA system. Flight 808 to London is now boarding at gate 12.
The syntax is deliberate. Boarding is an active, continuous verb. It signifies that the physical transition of the payload, meaning the passengers from the static, immobile building into the dynamic, pressurized vehicle, has actively commenced. The flow of data packets has resumed.
So you join the queue, you scan your boarding pass one final time, validating your token. You walk down that long, slightly sloped tunnel bridge, and you step through the door of the aircraft.
You made it.
And you'd think, finally, the stressful part is over, I can sit down. But no. The system has one final brutal puzzle waiting for you, the overhead bin.
Oh, the storage compartment situated above the passenger seats. It is arguably the most intense, high-stakes arena of unspoken social dynamics in modern society.
It is a live-action game of physical Tetris. But instead of playing it alone in your living room, you are playing it while 200 exhausted, impatient people watch you, judge your spatial reasoning skills, and wait for you to clear the aisles so they can sit down.
It perfectly illustrates the tragedy of the commons. The overhead bin space is a finite, communal resource. The airline rarely guarantees enough cubic volume for every passenger to store a maximum-size carry-on.
Right.
Therefore, it operates on a ruthless, first-come, first-served basis.
Which brings us all the way back to the psychology of the carry-on traveler we discussed at check-in. Remember the person who refused to trust the baggage handling system?
The one who wanted control.
Yes. The person who dragged that heavy box through the entire terminal just to maintain an illusion of control. Well, the overhead bin is where the system extracts its revenge.
Because their control is about to collide with scarcity.
Picture the scenario. You've marched down the narrow aisle. You locate your seat, 22B. You look up to stow your rigidly controlled bag. But the bin above row 22 is already completely full. It contains someone's puffy winter coat, a duty-free shopping bag full of Toblerone, and a shockingly oversized hiking backpack that definitely exceeds the dimensional limits. Your perfectly packed suitcase literally has nowhere to go.
But physiological panic returns. Because you realize your autonomy was an illusion all along, you are now forced into a high-pressure negotiation.
With strangers.
Do you attempt to violently crush the puffy jacket to carve out an extra 3 inches of space? Do you abandon your seat and walk 4 rows backward against the flow of boarding traffic to find an empty bin?
If you do that, you'll have to fight upstream against a wall of exiting passengers when the plane lands.
Exactly. It's agonizing.
You're standing there physically blocking the aisle, The flight attendant is hovering. People in row 23 are making aggressive eye contact. You're trying to pivot a 30-pound rectangle at a 45-degree angle over the heads of seated passengers, sweating profusely.
It's the worst.
The overhead bin tests your upper body strength, your spatial awareness, and your sheer capacity to endure public shame.
But once that puzzle is finally solved, once the heavy plastic door of the bin snaps shut and latches, that is the true moment of release.
Finally.
Only then can you sit down, buckle the physical restraint across your lap, and completely surrender your fate to the aerodynamics of the aircraft and the expertise of the flight crew. The departure sequence is fully complete. You have been successfully routed.
Okay, so the plane takes off. You spend 8 hours breathing recycled air. You eat a surprisingly hot foil tray of pasta. You try to sleep with your neck at a weird angle. Finally, the plane descends.
You're there.
The tires screech on the tarmac, the thrust reversers roar, and half the cabin inevitably starts clapping, which, by the way, I still do not understand. Why do humans applaud a machine operating exactly as mathematically intended?
Well, it's a collective involuntary release of tension. They are acknowledging their continued survival after plummeting toward the earth at high speed.
Fair enough, I get that. But the journey isn't actually over when the clapping stops. You grab your hard-fought bag from the overhead bin, you step off the plane, and you immediately hit the final and arguably most intimidating firewall. Step 4. The final boss. Arrival, immigration, and customs.
Up until this point, you have been navigating a corporate logistics system, the airline's rules. Now the paradigm shifts entirely.
A whole new game.
You must navigate a sovereign nation-state's security apparatus. You are standing at a physical border, and you must legally justify your presence to a new governmental entity. For many travelers, this is the peak of their anxiety.
And I love the metaphor we can use here to explain the difference between the two steps you face. First, you hit immigration. Immigration is essentially a metadata filter.
Explain that.
The officer behind the glass doesn't care what's inside your physical bags yet. They are filtering the metadata of your existence. Who are you? What is your intent? How long will you consume resources here?
That's a perfect technical analogy. And the reason this metadata filtering feels so inherently terrifying to humans is the wildly asymmetrical power dynamic.
It's not a fair fight.
Not at all. You are an exhausted, disoriented traveler standing below a raised desk. The officer sitting behind the thick glass possesses the absolute unilateral authority to deny your entry, completely derail your plans, detain you, or deport you.
Wow.
That imbalance of power naturally triggers an acute stress response in human beings, even if their metadata is perfectly clean.
It triggers the ultimate guilty conscience reflex. You step up to the yellow line, you haven't done anything wrong in your entire life, but suddenly your brain is screaming, wait, am I an international smuggler? Did I accidentally commit tax fraud in 2018? What if I look nervous and they think I'm a spy?
The physiological markers of intimidation, sweating, rapid heartbeat, stammering, are virtually identical to the physiological markers of deception.
It was a bad combination.
It is, which is exactly why relying on the structured language provided in our source document is so crucial here. You have to use predetermined syntax to bypass your own emotional response.
Yes. The document outlines the magic 3 questions. If you know these specific queries are coming, you can prepare your data packets and short-circuit the panic. Let's break them down and look at how the back-end database processes them.
Let's do it.
Question number 1. What is the purpose of your visit? The acceptable parameters are usually business, pleasure, or tourism, or visiting family.
This first query establishes the broad category of your intent. It tells the algorithm which set of rules to apply to you. If you say business, the system expects you to leave relatively quickly. If you say tourism, the system expects you to spend money.
Question number 2. How long will you be staying? The source specifies you need concrete timeframes. 2 weeks? 5 days.
This establishes the temporal parameters of your presence. It proves to the state that you have a definitive endpoint to your visit. The algorithm is looking for an exit strategy.
And question number 3. Where will you be staying? Answers like, at the Hilton Hotel downtown, or at my brother's apartment in Brooklyn.
This grounds your metadata in a physical location. It makes you a spatially trackable entity within the borders of the country. Now, the officer's backend system is cross-referencing these 3 answers looking for anomalies.
What kind of anomalies?
Well, if your purpose is tourism, but your duration is 6 months, and your location is a youth hostel, the algorithm flags a massive anomaly. How are you funding a 6-month vacation at a cheap hostel? Are you actually planning to work illegally?
I see. But the real danger isn't just a mismatch in the data. The danger is how humans deliver the data when they're intimidated.
The human element.
Let's role play this because this is where the system usually breaks down. I'll be the nervous, intimidated traveler whose guilty conscience has taken over. You be the imposing, unsmiling immigration officer behind the glass.
Understood. Next in line. Step forward. Passport, please.
Hi. Yes, hello, officer. Good afternoon. Or I guess it's morning here. Time zone's right. Anyway, here is my passport.
What is the purpose of your visit today?
Oh, well, see, my half-sister, well, she's from my dad's second marriage. It's a long story. She just had a baby, a little boy. And I haven't seen her since she moved to Seattle 3 years ago because of the pandemic. And then my boss at the marketing firm finally approved my PTO because we crushed our Q3 deliverables. So I figured I'd come visit, maybe see the Space Needle, do some hiking if the weather holds up.
Sir, I asked for the purpose of your visit.
Okay, breaking character. Why do humans do that? Why do they instinctively spill their entire deeply personal life narrative to a heavily armed government official who clearly does not care?
It's the psychology of oversharing under duress. When human beings feel suspected or intimidated, their natural defense mechanism is to over-explain in an attempt to prove their innocence.
I'll just tell you everything.
Right. The subconscious logic is, if I provide you with an overwhelming volume of highly specific personal details, you will realize I am just a normal, boring person, and therefore I have nothing to hide.
But from the system's perspective, that logic completely backfires. All right.
Spectacularly. To a trained immigration officer, excessive conversational detail is anomalous behavior. It deviates from the baseline norm of a tired traveler.
So it actually looks suspicious.
Yes. When you talk that much, it looks like you are deploying a smokescreen of words to obscure your true intentions. Instead of proving your innocence, oversharing actively triggers secondary screening algorithms in the officer's head. It makes you look incredibly suspicious.
And that leads to the most important piece of advice in this entire deep dive. Keep your answers incredibly short and ruthlessly confident.
Yes.
You do not need to justify your existence with a narrative. The source says it perfectly. Think of the immigration officer exactly like a search engine. When you open a search engine, you don't type a conversational paragraph asking it how its day is going before asking for a recipe. You type exact, sterile keywords.
Precisely. The officer is a biological parser for a database query. Purpose, tourism, duration, 10 days, location, the Marriott downtown.
Boom, done.
If you provide those exact, sterile keywords, the algorithm recognizes a valid input, accepts it, and immediately moves to the next person in line.
So you deliver your perfectly formatted keywords, you hear the deeply satisfying heavy thump of the passport stamp hitting the paper, and you're through the metadata filter. But there is one final mini-boss.
The last hurdle.
You grab your bag from the carousel and you walk toward the exit doors. You have to pass through customs.
If immigration was the metadata filter, customs is deep packet inspection. They don't care who you are anymore. They care exclusively about the physical payload you are carrying into the network.
The final question you might face from an officer standing near the exit is, do you have anything to declare?
Such a loaded question.
The source material clarifies what this actually means. They aren't asking for a philosophical declaration. They're asking if you are carrying physical items that violate agricultural quarantines or items that exceed taxation limits, like massive amounts of commercial alcohol, $10,000 in undeclared cash, or rare meats.
It is the ultimate final trap of compliance before you are released into the wild.
And the advice here is profound in its simplicity. Assuming you aren't actually smuggling exotic fruits or bricks of cash, the answer is just one word.
No. There's a beautiful aerodynamic power in confidently delivering the word no. It is a complete sentence. It requires zero elaboration.
Not at all.
It is the absolute final assertion of your compliance with the state's rule set. Once you successfully deliver that no, and the officer nods, the entire global aviation system finally releases its hold on you. You step through the sliding glass doors, and you are autonomous again.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Let's synthesize this massive journey we've just mapped out.
Let's recap.
We started at the curb, overwhelmed by the algorithmic friction of the building. But we've learned how to deconstruct it into 4 distinct transitions. We analyzed the cryptographic exchange of check-in and the psychological trust issues of luggage.
The carry-on control.
Exactly. We exposed the intentional cognitive overload of the security firewall and learned to rely on visual mimicry. We mapped the liminal space of the departures board and survived the resource scarcity of the boarding process.
The physical Tetris.
And finally, we mastered the metadata filtering of immigration and the deep packet inspection of customs by adopting the precise, sterile language of a search query.
What this source document ultimately provides is an operational manual for surviving a highly artificial environment. By learning the mechanics behind the scanners, the hidden logic of the baggage system, and the specific syntax required by border control, you completely change your relationship to the airport.
You really do.
You transform an intimidating, chaotic labyrinth into a highly predictable, easily hackable system. You stop being a victim of the algorithm and you become an active, highly efficient participant within it.
And I want to leave you with one final, slightly paradoxical thought to mull over the next time you are standing in a massive queue staring at an X-ray machine.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Think about how the language and the architecture of the airport intentionally strip away your humanity. It doesn't care about your hopes, your sense of humor, or your personality. It reduces you entirely to Boolean values. Your bag count, your bin size, your seating permissions, and your duration of stay.
Just data points.
Right. It forces you to communicate in a very robotic, binary way. But the incredible paradox is this. It's only by mastering this robotic, impersonal language, by learning how to speak precisely like a machine, that you unlock the ultimate human freedom to physically explore the entire globe.
That is a brilliant contradiction. You conform to the machine locally so you can wander freely globally.
So the next time you walk through those automatic sliding doors at the drop-off zone, don't let the low-level hum of anxiety take over. Take a deep breath, ignore the fluorescent lights, and step into that terminal with absolute confidence. You aren't just a data packet anymore. You know how the algorithm works. You know the code. Safe travels.
And just like that, you are ready to fly. Next time you are at the airport, take a deep breath and remember these phrases. You've got this. If this guide made your travel plans a little less stressful, please hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and share it with your travel buddies. Safe travels, and keep leveling up your English.